Hey guys, and welcome to the Hobby News. All right, so we're getting close to Christmas, and that means, usually some special minis. We've seen at least one from GW, and we're about to see another one. Well, this one's for Boxing Day. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty fun one, I think. We'll take a look through it. It's a pretty interesting miniature, and one that, I think gives a subtle nod or a hint to what's coming in the future, maybe for that particular faction, or at least I hope so. It's interesting. We're going to take a look at it. But first, I thought we'd take a bit of a look at Necromunda and see what they've got for us. So we've got a couple of bounty hunters here, which are pretty interesting. Necromunda is one of those games that's, always seems to be releasing interesting individual character models and so on. I don't know how good these are in the game, but definitely they're very interesting in terms of their design and what they're offering. So let's have a look at it. So we've got our first one here. So we'll see what they say. The Underhive is crawling with so many bounty hunters, outlaws, and hired guns. It's a wonder there's room left for innocent civilians at this point. This dubious cast of Rum Coves. Okay, apply their trade, deadly trade among the gangs of Necromunda, offering their unique take on the oldest job in the world, making people dead. Today, two new ne'er-do-wells have sauntered into sight. First up, smelling faintly of singed hair, and Prometheum is the bomb. Rex Spires. Okay, right, cool. So let's see what he is. So we've got sort of, bionics in the back here. It'd be nice if there was another view of him to see what else, what other details, like a back view. But yeah, pretty interesting. So we've got some bionics. It looks like the whole half of his body is bionic, I guess, from some sort of misadventure with his bombs. But yeah, really interesting face. That's pretty much what drew me towards this, was looking at that design. And, it's pretty cool. We've got a sort of scar coming down here into this sort of bionic, but it's a pretty cool head. I'm assuming that's separate from the body, as this armored piece here the cowl looks like it's a cavity, so the head probably comes separate. I would imagine so, and it's a pretty cool head. I can see a few conversions being used with that head, and the armor itself is really interesting. It's almost got that sort of Fallout vibe, with these sort of armored struts on the shoulder pads, and this sort of gas mask thing coming around here. It's got some sort of Fallout vibes I'm getting from this model, and maybe the sculptor's into that and decided to throw a little bit of that in there. But even the painting of it, with the sort of the rust and everything, in some of the colors they're using here, it does have my favorite colors, some blue greens, which is always good. But yeah, a really interesting model, and slightly different from the usual Necromunda, I guess, aesthetic. It does have something different going on. It'd be lovely to see what's going on in the back. It looks like there's some kind of canister or something in the back of him there. I can't really tell what that is, but a really interesting sort of choice. And I don't know how useful this guy is in the game, but just from a model wise point of view, it's pretty fun. I'm sure if you get this one, it'll be a cool one to paint. All the details are well separated. You've got enough there to dig in and do some fun work, like in the armor here, doing little highlights and so on. You've got some aging and weathering going on here. So, this is definitely a model that's, even just from a hobby point of view, is an interesting one and worth taking a look at. So that's pretty cool. So let's come down and see what else we got. So then we've got this one here. So Estes Jet, I guess that's her name. And yeah, again, this is an Escher style, I suppose, or maybe was an Escher or something like that. But we've got some pretty interesting design choices here too. Possibly this is maybe, I don't know, let's take a look. So Estes Jet, a mysterious orphan name for the letters still legible on the collar she was wearing when Esmeralda, Holdmother of the Dust Falls Deep Nine Orphanarium, discovered her. Okay, yeah, right. So she's got like a mysterious past, I guess. But it does look a bit Escher. We've got the nice sort of braided hair and long ponytail there. Looks like dreads she's got maybe, or something like that. And then we've got a lot of the usual sort of details that you find on female models that get designed for Necromunda. We've got the little blades there, and these sort of the tight jeans with the tall boots and that sort of thing. The the heels on the back. Yeah, pretty cool. It's a nice model, and we've got like it looks like a cutlass in the back there. Yeah, again, this would be a fun one to see the back view to see what other sorts of details are on her. But yeah, if you're into these sorts of bounty hunters and so on, I'm sure this would make a great addition to the collection for sure. And I like the face; it's got something interesting going on there. We've got the scar. It looks like they've tried to sculpt in a little bit more anatomy around the eyes, which is good. Sometimes on females it's kind of tricky. How much detail do you put in at that scale? How much of the ridge lines and so on of the cheekbones, the eyebrow, in the skull, how much of that do you actually sculpt in? Because it can start to look very male very quickly, and on some figures that's fine, but it is really difficult to get a nice balance between those things, so that you get essentially a feminine face coming forward in that scale, and it's a very small area, right? But here it looks like we've got that. We've got this little nice bit of sculpted eyebrow there, enough spacing between the eye and the eyebrow to give you a little bit of spot where you can put the paint. We can see here the lid has been painted in, so I would imagine if we saw this model in the grey, it would have enough there. You'll be able to paint that, which is cool for those that really want to get into the details and even add some makeup and so on. This is a pretty good face for that. So yeah, all in all, pretty good bunch of models for Necromunda. I'm sure those that play are going to be really happy with these. And that brings us now to the next bit of news, and that is a commemorative Boxing Day miniature, which I alluded was possibly showing us maybe something for the future for this faction. So it's ghouls. So we've got the Flesh Eater Courts, this ghoul king, and what a cool model this is, right? So they've done this as, I guess, just I suppose it's more of a display model, that sort of thing. I'm sure eventually they'll give it rules and some special rule or something like that to make it interesting, but just as a display piece and something to paint, which they talk about in the article. And yeah, it's a great model, but it does give us at least a hint at maybe they are working on some Flesh Eater Courts minis, which would be great to see. They're one of those factions that I love, and obviously if you look at my channel, a lot of the models I paint are from the Death allegiance in Age of Sigmar, but also my own personal brand is based on necromancy and death and demons and that sort of thing, and I really love the dark aesthetic, and ghouls are something I really enjoy sculpting myself, and also in Games Workshop lore and the minis as well. And so I'm hoping they really develop this faction out, because the lore behind it is excellent. These sort of deluded sort of knightly virtuous sort of characters, well, that's at least that's what they think, and in actuality they're these cannibalistic ghouls that have sort of fallen from grace and quite brutal, but it's that wonderful play between those two worlds and how much they show. What I'm really hoping for is that they actually show some of the delusion on these models, and so you see that knightly, chivalry and sort of like tattered tabards and all that sort of thing, bits of armor and all those sorts of little details, just there on the model. So you sort of implying, is this really there, or is it just an illusion? Is it not real? And play with that sort of grey area of how much is real and how much isn't, because at the moment, even though this is a great model, we're still getting a very, barbaric, realistic version of what this ghoul looks like, not what he sees within himself. He's obviously seeing himself as something far more regal, and it'd be fun to see a little bit of that come through in the sculpting, so that you can sort of play with how much of it comes forward. Even if it's melding out of his body a little bit or something like that would be really fun, or one side of his face is, more handsome and sort of almost like a normal human's face, and then melding into this sort of ghastly visage on the other side, those sorts of things. So when you look at it from different angles, you get different views or different sorts of impressions of this king. All those sorts of things would be really fun. They're very hard to do sculpturally, but just a little hint of it, even just a few pieces, just to allow the painter to decide how much of it they want to really embellish. Flat areas to do heraldry and so on. That would really make these ghouls a lot more personable and interesting on an individual level, so that they're not just another ghoul with, sharp teeth and bones and so on. They start to have some individual personality. It's one of those tricky things with designing ghouls. I myself, in my brand, it's a tricky thing, right? Because you don't have a lot of elements to work with. It's basically just all anatomy. And so how do you make each one different and unique? And it's really down to the objects that they hold, what they adorn themselves with. And here we're getting a little bit of it. We've got the crown, we've got the sword, we've got small elements that show his stature within the ghoul society, but it's still just a ghoul, right? A little bit more on that. I guess the insanity within showing without would be a great way to level this up to the next kind of level in terms of this army and really make it sing. And I think that those that love this faction, I'm pretty sure they would agree with me. That sort of thing would be really fun to see in these moles. But you might have your own ideas. I'd love to hear about it in the down there. So feel free to extend that conversation, because ghouls are a great topic. But this one's really cool. So it'll be out on Boxing Day. You'll be able to pick it up in the stores, and then they've got a pre-order as well after that. I think up until in the stores, it's up until I think the 8th of January, and then you've got from the 7th to the 15th you can pre-order it as well, or order it online. Sorry, so it's a fun model, and those that love to paint should have a good time with it. And I'm very tempted to pick this up and play around with it, because it is still a cool model. I love ghouls, and I love sculpting and painting this type of anatomy. It always implies some interesting things that you can do. Different sorts of colored blends, moving from one color to another. That's something I love to do if you've seen any of my tutorials. So I might end up picking this up, and we'll do a little bit of a color glazing sort of treatment on this and see what we can come up with. I've been, on my channel, I've got the Ghoul King there, the Yellow King, and I've shown how to do yellow flesh, going up through browns and that sort of thing. So this one might be fun to see what we can do with yellow, maybe going through flesh tones and that way, and kind of glazing in the yellow slowly to change the flesh, so it ends up more like a sort of a bruised, cadaverous sort of flesh. I don't know, but we'll see how we go. But this is definitely perking my interest. So I'm sure other people out there that love flesh-eater courts are also looking at this with a bit of a wistful eye on it, hoping for the future to make sure that it's cool, right? We all want the flesh-eater courts to be cool. So I'll leave you on that note. I hope you have a good Christmas. I'll probably do another episode of the news before Christmas hits, hopefully. If not, I'll see you in the new year, and I hope you have a wonderful time. And I guess if you like this, please hit that like button, subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I'll catch you on the next one.